I wrote an entirely different video about The Bride that was supposed to be released by now, and believe me, it's still coming. But then HBO decided to drop the trailer for the Harry Potter show, and of course, the vultures began licking their chops at yet another opportunity to grift. And this one's a little special because, at least on the internet, this one seems to be receiving hate from all sides of the political spectrum. Those on the left are, predictably, looking for their pound of flesh, given who created this series, and those on the right are mad about a so-called race swap regarding none other than Hermione. You thought I was going to say Snape, didn't you? Don't worry, we'll get to that. Your favorite batch of anti-creators have all decided to throw their dunce caps into the ring, so let's have a look-see, shall we?
The Harry Potter series and I have a complex relationship. The books kind of passed me by in the 90s because angsty teenage drinker was more into serious, pretentious fantasy at the time, so I never really fell in love with them and grew up with Harry, Ron and Hermione like so many other people did. Likewise, when the movies came out in the early 2000s, I didn't have any context for whether they were faithful adaptations or not, and I'll be honest here, the quirky, goofy, family-friendly tone of the early films didn't do much to win me over. I didn't hate them or anything, they just weren't really my cup of tea, so I was happy to let the fans get on with it.
Very strange position coming from the critical drinker. I mean, saying something wasn't his cup of tea so he let the fans of the property enjoy it unmolested seems pretty noble. But it does beg the question, why doesn't he do this for things regarding Disney, or feminism, or LGBTQ people, or ethnic minorities? Why does he always have something to say about those topics when, by his own admission, he's supposed to be ignoring things that aren't his cup of tea? Sounds like he's only doing this for the money, don't it?
But I was always kind of curious, because nothing achieves that level of cultural impact without something pretty fucking special to back it up. So, a couple of years ago, I girded my loins, grew my beard, and finally made the time to read the books and find out what all the fuss was about. And damn man, I believe that I finally understood the appeal of Harry Potter. Yeah, J.K. Rowling's absolute abuse of adverbs in her writing can be tough to get through at times. Watch out, Harry, Hermione shouted warningly. I'm telling you man, once you see it, you can never unsee it.
Now, drinker, I don't think you're in any position to criticize someone's writing, especially someone that's sold 100 times more books than you have subscribers. I mean, your writing isn't exactly Shakespeare. And now, an excerpt from Drinker's book, Redemption, Ryan Drake, Book 1. A lone jogger shuffled along beneath the dripping leaves, following a muddy track that wound through Anacostia Park. To a casual observer, he would have seemed perfectly unremarkable. Mid-30s, medium build, standing an inch or so above 6 foot. Feet. His short dark hair was damp with sweat, his face downturned, his eyes on the ground ahead. Just another anonymous bureaucrat, just another DC office worker trying to stave off the beer gut and high blood pressure. The sort of man one might pass in the street and forget within moments. But for those who cared to look beyond the obvious, a different picture emerged. Though tired, he moved with sure, confident strides, maintaining a steady ground-covering pace that would be familiar to soldiers the world over. And those eyes, which seemed loosely fixed on the muddy ground ahead, would often flick left and right, quickly taking in his surroundings, maintaining constant awareness of his situation. Those who knew what to look for would see he was no office worker.
Oh, that's terrible.
But overall, the series was an impressive feat of imagination, and in a way, it did make me appreciate the movies from a whole new perspective. Now I understood just how much depth, world building and complexity they had to cut and condense to fit some pretty fucking enormous books into a 2-hour narrative. What I'm trying to say with all this push is that I greeted the announcement of a new Harry Potter TV series on HBO with about the same level of enthusiasm I'd welcome the installation of a new toilet seat. I mean, it is an improvement, I guess, but is it really going to do anything revolutionary?
I really have a problem with this line of thinking. I mean, besides the fact that Drinker literally just contradicted himself, as he stated he read the novels and appreciated the world building, a lot of that being left out of the movies, which begs the question why he's questioning the existence of this media property. But my problem is exactly that. The Harry Potter films left out an incredible amount of detail, which I suppose is somewhat expected when translating a book to a film, but I think that's only ever expected because, for whatever reason, movie studios love cutting shit out of their adaptations, which bothers me as a source material enthusiast. People who are fans of the material only want what's in the source material, and people who don't know what's in the source material will happily consume a film or show that properly adapts that source material, provided the show is good, and the filmmakers already have half their jobs done for them. It's literally a win-win-win. So I think the purpose of this show's existence is obvious, a proper adaptation of the source material that doesn't leave out important aspects of the plot, like the fact that Voldemort was conceived due to a love potion, which implies that Voldemort was a child of female rape.
See? It's right here. And this is a conversation between Dumbledore and Harry Potter. Can you not think of any measure Merope, Voldemort's mother, could have taken to make Tom Riddle, Voldemort's father, forget his muggle companion and fall in love with her instead? The Imperious Curse, Harry suggested, or a love potion. Very good. Personally, I am inclined to think that she used a love potion. I am sure it would have seemed more romantic to her, and I do not think it would have been very difficult some hot day when Riddle was riding alone to persuade him to take a drink of water. In any case, within a few months of the scene we have just witnessed, the village of Little Hangleton enjoyed a tremendous scandal. You can imagine the gossip it caused when the squire's son ran off with the tramp's daughter, Merope. That's kind of fucked up, isn't it? He goes on to state, what he meant, I am sure, is that he had been under an enchantment that had now lifted, though I dare say he did not dare use those precise words for fear of being thought insane. When they heard what he was saying, however, the villagers guessed that Merope had lied to Tom Riddle, pretending she was going to have his baby and that he had married her for this reason. But she did have his baby. But not until a year after they were married. Tom Riddle left while she was still pregnant. Yeah, Voldemort is a roofie baby. Children's book.
The movies don't have any of that, and for those of you who are movie only, I probably just blew your mind.
On the plus side, all that extra runtime offers the chance to expand on stuff from the novels that either had to be cut or massively simplified for the sake of movie making, which is nice, I guess. Shit man, it might even do my boy Ron justice this time around. Seriously, the Ron from the books is such a wildly different character from the film version, it's not even funny. He's snarky, he's quick-witted and assertive, he's angsty about his poor background, but he takes no shit from people about it. He argues regularly with Hermione, and he actually wins a lot of the time. On the other hand, I can't say I was exactly desperate to watch the same story get rehashed again, even if it came with a few extra bells and whistles attached.
Why not? Remakes are a dime a dozen these days with video games, movies, and TV shows. Heck, you have 3 videos talking about Dune, all of which are positive. Are you unaware this is the 4th attempt to tell the story of Dune? I wonder why this remake in particular is rustling your jimmies.
And well, there's the other issue to consider. The first Harry Potter movie came out a quarter of a century ago, and Hollywood is a very different place from what it was in 2001.
Kinda, but mainly because of people like you. Obviously, with this overused clip of a person screaming at the inauguration of Trump, and let's be frank, she was fucking right, you're implying that the movie industry is more so-called woke than it was when the first Harry Potter film released in 2001. And that's simply not true. The film industry was progressive back then, too. You were just too young to notice or care, but the conservatives of that era were just as much of a whiny bitch then as you are now. Specifically for this very topic, Harry Potter, conservatives tried to have it banned for promoting witchcraft. I mean, one of the heroes is an intelligent heroine, the smartest student in the school, and is the epitome of what you would call a girl boss today. The villains of the story believe in pure blood supremacy. The school itself is multicultural and multiracial, with people from non-magical backgrounds admitted as long as they display an aptitude for magic, which would stand in direct opposition to the ideology of blood purity that underpins the series' central antagonists. In other words, the very institution where the story takes place is built on the rejection of inherited superiority. Harry Potter was woke way before you ever heard that Black American slang word.
And yesterday, the first trailer dropped for season 1, so what the fuck do I actually think about it? Well, this one left me feeling confused. Right off the bat, the tone of the trailer is bizarrely dark, serious and heavy, all muted colours and washed out lighting, and overlaid with that booming, ominous Hans Zimmer score that feels more like a grandiose, painfully serious Zack Snyder superhero flick than a whimsical kid's adventure.
You sound like you're getting your criticism from Twitter, Will. These are all movie-only fan criticisms. The series was dark from the beginning. I mean, what part of Harry being bullied by his literal blood relatives was whimsical? They forced him to live in a cupboard under the stairs. They'd leave him with Mrs. Fig when they went off to have fun at amusement parks. Then, when he finally arrived at Hogwarts, he got bullied by students and a teacher for something that happened in the past that he had nothing to do with. And there was a plot to kill him. This is all in the first book. Just look at how Roger Ebert describes that first book. The idea that the Harry Potter series got darker and darker as the story went on is massively overstated. It was always an unrelenting story of a boy overcoming nearly impossible odds. The books just got thicker.
Don't get me wrong, the intention's obviously to contrast the bleak concrete jungle of the Muggle world with the vibrant magic and colours of Hogwarts, but holy shit, we're not launching into some deadly serious epic fantasy here. The John Williams score from the movies was absolutely pitch perfect for Harry Potter, combining intrigue and mystery with an undertone of adventure and danger, and just a hint of playfulness to remind you that yes, you're allowed to have fun with this one. The characters, on the other hand, are a bit of a mixed bag. The kids all look fine, I guess. The lead actor for Harry doesn't quite have the same spark and charisma that Daniel Radcliffe had, but I'm sure he'll do okay.
Did this man just say the spark and charisma that Daniel Radcliffe had? Bruh, Daniel was the weakest of the original trio. Let's be completely honest here. You seem to be judging Daniel on his later work in the series, but early on he was often criticized as being stiff, bland, and a poor actor, usually outperformed by Emma Watson. Hell, Daniel himself thought he was bad. I know we have to do this thing where we overly praise the original thing to shit on the remake, but history was recorded, and the idea that Daniel Radcliffe was anything other than okay as Harry Potter is laughable.
Hermione is kind of meh. She doesn't have the bushy hair, or the buck teeth, or the pale skin that Hermione was known for, but, you know, apart from that, she's dead on, I guess.
Lot to unpack here. First of all, Hermione isn't described as pale-skinned anywhere in any of the books. Like, that is just wrong. This is why the character has been portrayed by a black woman on stage with Rowling's blessing, with her going so far as stating there is no reason Hermione can't be black. There is a moment in the third book where Hermione's face is described as turning white, but as Rowling explains, this is figurative language meant to describe a character losing color in their face due to shock. This can and does happen to black people. Anyway, I think if the creator of the series is okay with her own character not being tied to one particular group of people, we should kinda let that one go. But this idea that the new actress doesn't have bushy hair and buck teeth is just... Like, what are you looking at? She looks far more like how Rowling describes the character than Emma ever did. This young girl looks like she leapt right off the page. And have you heard her speak? This child was born to play Hermione.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa. It was very funny because I got back from school and my parents said, right, we need to have a talk to you about your behaviour. And I was like, what have I done wrong? I was so nervous that they were going to tell me off and I'd be like suspended from school. And they were like, okay, so you're going to be playing the part of Hermione Granger in the audio series. And I just stopped for a few seconds. I was like, what? I thought it was about behaviour. I was like so shocked. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so happy. I think I talk quite like Hermione. And in audio, you have to pronounce your words a lot. And so I think Hermione sort of overdoes that because she talks very well. It's a little bit younger, I think. So yeah, I think I had to pitch a little bit higher and pronounce my words more. I think I'm quite similar to Hermione. I mean, I think I'm fairly good at school. I always want to do everything perfectly, but I have to tell myself, no, I can't do everything perfectly.
Again, I know people love to do the first thing is better than the new thing, but this is one of those instances where it's inarguable that the new thing is better than the original. Tom Holland's Spider-Man is another.
The reality, though, is that the casting in general is probably going to be compared unfavourably to the film franchise. Say what you want about the movies, but the actors they managed to assemble for them were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, where else are you going to see Alan Rickman, Maggie Smith, Ralph Fiennes, Gary Oldman, Jason Isaacs, Brendan Gleeson, Michael Gambon, and John Hurt in the same fucking movie? Somehow, I don't think Nick Frost and John Lithgow are quite on the same level.
On this, we agree. While I don't have much issue with the new cast, the original cast was full of industry giants, and it'll be hard to top. I personally wouldn't have cast Lithgow as Dumbledore, but then again, I don't remember ever hearing him try a British accent, so I'll reserve judgment. That being said, I think with how they've knocked it out of the park with our main trio, we should give them a bit of grace and not underestimate this era's talent pool. Jessie Buckley as Bellatrix Lestrange would feed families, just saying.
Anyway, enough about that bullshit. Let's talk about the real elephant in the room. Draco Malfoy's hair. Seriously, what's with the fucking Gen Z bird's nest resting on his head? He looks about as intimidating as Patton Oswalt.
I don't know. I think the broccoli haircut does make him look more like a douchebag. The real problem is that this story is set in the 90s and that hairstyle wasn't a thing back then. But let's talk about Snape, bro. We know that's what you really want to get to.
Oh yeah, and Snape's in the trailer as well, and I'll be honest, I think the casting department did a great job with this one. Apart from the hooked nose, the greasy straight hair, the thin physique and the pale sallow skin, he's the spitting image of Snape from the books. Joking aside, race swapping such a prominent character that was clearly described as white in the books and was played to absolute perfection by Alan Rickman in the movies was a pretty dumb decision because ultimately, it's just going to overshadow everything else about this show.
Only if you're a racist douchebag that is concerned with blood purity. Hey, where have I heard that one before? The casting of Snape is very interesting for a variety of reasons, but again, we are talking about a fictional character whose ethnicity isn't integral to their characterization. For Snape to work, all you need is an anti-hero that was in love with Harry Potter's mother, bullied by Harry Potter's father, worked for the Dark Lord, switched sides after Harry's mother was killed, and is a piece of shit to Harry due to the hatred for Harry's father. Nothing about any of that suggests Snape has to be white. As long as the character has everything I just named, that's Snape. You people routinely have a meltdown over non-issues like this. It's amazing. If this one character is going to overshadow the entire story for you, good news. The books and the original movies still exist. You can go consume them and be happy. For those of us that don't care about a fictional character's skin tone, we will all go on with our lives.
It's basically the only thing that anyone's talking about right now, and based on the ratio on that first trailer, the talk has not been positive.
So, you're showing more people like this than people disliked this. Am I going crazy, or can you people not do math? I mean, I could understand if this inaccurate plugin that I keep telling you people not to use because it's fucking inaccurate was showing a higher number of dislikes than the likes, but you're literally showing that more people liked this than disliked it. You're debunking yourself, is what I'm saying. Also, YouTube dislikes are never a worthwhile measure of anything, especially with situations like this, because people like you will teach people to dislike these things and exacerbate the problem artificially. It's channels like yours that have taught people to hate brigade and review bomb things. So you showing me this is entirely meaningless, and that's besides the fact that more people liked the trailer than disliked it.
It's also exposing the actor to a lot of hate that he absolutely doesn't deserve. And for what? What does all this accomplish, really? Is it going to improve the show? Will it get more people to watch it? Or does it just become a convenient shield to hide behind so you can dismiss any and all criticism, no matter how valid or well-intentioned, as nothing more than ignorant bigotry?
Please pay attention to what Drinker is saying here. He's planting the seeds early, teaching his audience of bigots to hide behind the guise of criticism when they inevitably review bomb this thing. These people do this all the time. When they get called out for their obvious bigotry, they try to retreat to this phony-ass criticism excuse. I can see all the bad writing tweets already. Besides, this doesn't make any sense. If we know they're being more accurate to the source material, and we know people like that source material, there's nothing to worry about. Snape will be exactly like he was in the book. And if he isn't, that will be a fair criticism, and no one will call you a racist for pointing that out. But enough with the preemptive victimhood. You deserve every accusation of bigotry because you are a bigot, Will. Stop pretending that label doesn't fit you while doing everything in your power to fucking earn it. Why are you racists so afraid of being labeled what you clearly are? Are you not the guy that compared King Kong to African slaves? Why did you see a giant ape and think, Black people, Will? Why do you use AI imagery of black people crying as your thumbnails, Will? Why do you go out of your way to shit on movies people have never heard of, but review movies like Sinners on your second channel where your normal audience won't see it, Will? If you're not a racist, you're doing a damn good impression of one.
There's a reason most fans let out a collective groan these days every time a new remake or reboot of an old franchise gets announced. It's because the culture that allowed the original versions to get made the way they were just does not exist anymore, and what we get instead tends to be a lazy, pandering, badly written facsimile of it.
But you know what does still exist? The original property. You morons talk like the originals just disappear when the new version comes out. Fam, Harry Potter is the best-selling book series of all time. If you have a problem with the skin tone of one of the actors, go reread the books again. Hell, listen to the audiobooks. Watch the movies for the millionth time. You can just pretend this doesn't exist. I don't understand why this bothers you people so much. Is it FOMO? Can you not stand when others are having a good time and you can't because your bigotry doesn't allow you to enjoy a media property? Stop being a bitch. When I'm not interested in something, I just don't watch it. I don't get on YouTube and cry to my echo chamber while dog whistling for them to go dislike a trailer. You're a grown-ass man, dude. Act like it. Anyway, let's see what Nerdrotic is up to.
I'm Black Snape. Yeah. I'm black. Yeah. Black cloak, black skin. Walk the hall, they whispering. Cauldron bubble, I'm different. Dark eyes don't flinch, just glimmering.
Wow. An AI video of Snape rapping and shooting guns. But the critical drinker whines about he and his group being labeled racist. I'm trying to figure out how these dipshits have not yet been banned from YouTube. Things like this are clear violations of community guidelines. I mean, he's showing Snape, a British person, brandishing a handgun. You know, the thing they banned in Britain? This fucking idiot is using a black American stereotype for a black British person. Even their racism is low IQ. What's funny about this is Nerdrotic is a fucking felon. Once again, nothing but projection coming from that side.
We're back with Harry Potter sooner than I thought because HBO released their first Harry Potter trailer, and as predicted, it broke the internet, just not in all the ways that HBO hoped for. But you can't say HBO's parent company, Warner Brothers, America's dumbest entertainment company, wasn't expecting a little heat. And they deserve it with the bad decision they made. Warner Brothers' ambitious attempt to once again adapt one of the most popular fantasy book series of all time, Harry Potter, and remake one of the most popular film series of a generation. Of course, the Harry Potter show is going to be one of the most anticipated series of the last decade. And it could have been an absolute slam dunk if it was adapted properly, something HBO had promised to do when they said this would be a faithful adaptation. A promise that was broken almost immediately with the casting of Papa Essiedu's Black Snape.
The story is what they're referring to when they say they will be properly adapting the source material. I mean, John Lithgow is an American. Last I checked, Dumbledore isn't American, but I guess that's okay because he's white and it's just acting in that case, huh?
Both a forced and unforced error that will go down as some of the worst casting in Hollywood history.
How can you possibly know that when you haven't seen the acting yet? For all you know, he could put on an acting clinic, but your dumbass thinks he'll be performing a drive-by on a broomstick in Scotland.
And now that the trailer's been released, showing a lot more than I thought it would, giving us our first look at Harry, Ron, Hermione, Malfoy, Hagrid, Miss McGonagall, and Dumbledore. You think that would be enough to dominate the conversation, but unfortunately for HBO, the thing that broke the internet was Black Snape. Because we got our first look at Black Snape yesterday with the trailer and a promotional image, and I will say again, the resemblance is uncanny.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
In case you didn't catch the racial jabs, we're laughing at black hair, black lips, and we're including smoke detector beeps. This is where we are in 2026, where a large creator on YouTube can just be openly racist towards black people, and YouTube won't do anything about it.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying our expectations were low, but holy fuck. I mean, they're not even trying on this one because they gave Snape dreads. And if you said Severus Snape looks like a younger Whoopi Goldberg, you wouldn't be that far off. If you said Snape looks like Tracy Chapman, you're getting a little closer. If you think Snape looks like the dude from Good Burger, you're spot on.
And if you think Nerdrotic looks like an uncircumcised penis that belongs to a geriatric inmate on death row, give this video a like.
And it gets worse. Look at what he's wearing in this promotional image. Is that a tracksuit under his robe? Is the barrel of his gat lined with unicorn hair or dragon heartstring? Is he sipping on gin and polyjuice with his mind on his galleons and his galleons on his mind? Is the 6th series going to be called the Half-Blood Fresh Prince?
What do we even say to this? This stupid fuck is still applying black American stereotypes to a British person. This is why multiple studies have repeatedly concluded that those who are racist tend to have lower IQs, and Gary here is a shining example of that.
And again, while the trailer isn't ratioed, the dislike count is at 98,000, which is extremely high. 99% of that ratio comes from Black Snape. And that's why the decision to race swap Snape will go down as some of the worst casting in the history of Hollywood.
The fact that you think YouTube dislikes will have an effect on this show is hilarious. Harry Potter is an unstoppable franchise at this point. Every attempt to quash it has failed, from the Christian groups in the 90s to the people trying to boycott Hogwarts Legacy. I don't even know why y'all try anymore, to be honest. This trailer has the most views in HBO's history in only 48 hours. It beat out Superman, for fuck's sake. Superman!
It was not a decision based on creativity or merit. It was a decision motivated by social and political agendas, which is a shame because if you take away Black Snape, the trailer was pretty good. While I still have my criticisms, I didn't like how it was shot so dark and it was devoid of any color. I like how Nick Frost looks as Hagrid, but he just has Nick Frost's voice, which doesn't sound anything like Hagrid. But other than that, it looked like it has a lot of potential and could have been great instead of just good despite Black Snape. The key word there is potential, but again, the casting of Harry and Ron looks perfect. And with Hermione, well, I was convinced they were going to cast a black actress, but they didn't. Now, the one they did cast was the voice in the early audiobooks, and she sounded just like her, so I think it's fine. I also think Draco looks like Draco. Miss McGonagall looks like Miss McGonagall. The Dursleys definitely look different, but fine. What we can see of the inside of Hogwarts looks like Hogwarts, and John Lithgow's Dumbledore, especially in this promotional image, looks fantastic, which makes it all the more frustrating and inexplicable. I would love to know the name of the person who floated this idea.
What he's really saying is that he would like to know the person he can send his audience to go harass. But this is hilarious to me. He likes literally everything about this trailer, but there's an uppity Negro also playing pretend with the whites, and this here is a sundown town. I love how angry black people's presence makes these people, and the fact that they can't do anything about it but cry and say racist things. Absolutely pathetic existence.
Because as many of us have said before, Harry Potter was already diverse and the demographics of the story matched the demographics of the UK in the 90s.
Oh? The UK was full of witches and wizards and goblins and elves and fantastic beasts in the 90s? Well, I'm sure that's news to the people of the UK. Like, what are we doing? Are we seriously trying to evoke real-life racial demographics in a story about a school that accepts basically anyone as long as they can do magic? I guess the horse eagle ain't tip you off, but this is fiction. It can be whatever anyone in charge wants it to be. Last I checked, JK is not bothered by a black man portraying Snape. In fact, she's busy whining about trans people. I mean, she's already given her stamp of approval. If she's not mad, why are you?
And you could have race swapped a bunch of other characters, and while people still would have complained, it wouldn't have really affected the story and wouldn't have been as bad as, say, Black Snape.
You're contradicting your own argument here. If you admit this is a story where anyone can be so-called race swapped and it wouldn't affect the story, you're going to have to explain how having a black person portray Snape affects the story. Do you think black people can't be bullied? Well, you couldn't possibly think that because you're doing that right now. You think a black man can't fall in love with a white woman? Well, guess what? The guy who was playing Snape is in fact in a relationship with a white woman right now. Please explain to me how this man's skin color affects the story. You can't, and we all know you can't, because there isn't a real justification. Because if there were, he would have never been cast.
Or, hear me out, don't race swap anyone. It would have avoided a lot of headaches, a lot of fan backlash, and it would have made it easier to write your story, which is now going to make Harry Potter's father, James Potter, look like a racist. His mother, Lily, is going to look like a racist because she leads on and friend zones a black kid so she can hook up with James Potter, who picked on the black kid.
This is such a stupid and insanely moronic read on this situation. First off, this implies that the only reason a white person has a problem with a black person is specifically due to racism, which of course literally implicates you, Gary. You are calling yourself a racist right now, which frankly would be the most honest thing you've ever said. But more than that, this is othering the black person and not treating them like a normal human. Black kids get bullied like white kids do. Black boys get rejected by white girls like white boys do. Black men can be pieces of shit like white men can. The only people reading this kind of rhetoric into this story are people like you, Gary, motherfuckers that shouldn't be interacting with the public and should be in someone's insane asylum in the middle of bumfuck Idaho cutting up potatoes or some shit.
As far as the rest of the Marauders are concerned, well, I'm convinced they're going to make Sirius Black black, and not just because his last name is Black, although that would be good enough for Hollywood, but it will probably make the Marauders look a little less racist if a black kid is picking on another black kid. But then you have a show made by a bunch of white people depicting black kids picking on black kids. You play identity politics games, you win identity politics prizes.
Ironically, you're the only one playing identity politics here. An actor was cast in a role, one that you haven't even seen enough of to make a judgment on that actor's performance. You don't even know how they will portray the character yet. This is like the Peter Pan thing. Women have portrayed Peter Pan, the leader of the Lost Boys, and literally nothing changed about the story because it's acting. These are people playing pretend. Snape is not a real person. He is a character in fiction, and the important traits of that character aren't physical. Again, I remind you, we have a whole-ass American playing Dumbledore, and somehow that doesn't even register to you people.
This brings us to the interview with Papa Asuidu from a week ago, and I should have known a trailer was coming because this is textbook getting out in front of a problem. The good old proactive fan blaming taken from the pages of Amazon and Lucasfilm. If any of this sounds familiar, it should, because it's just like with Moses Ingram and Kenobi and the Rings of Power.
I wonder what these people all have in common, Gary. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's right at the tip of my tongue.
Is the barrel of his gat lined with unicorn hair or dragon heartstring? Is he sipping on gin and polyjuice with his mind on his galleons and his galleons on his mind? Is the 6th series going to be called the Half-Blood Fresh Prince? From The Hollywood Reporter, Harry Potter series star Papa Asuidu says he's received death threats for Snape casting. I've been told, quit or I'll end you. The actor told The Times, "To state the obvious, nobody should be threatening actors for taking a role, and I have no doubt he's received these threats, and he has my sympathy as somebody who's received a lot of threats for talking about things like Harry Potter."
The difference is, people like you are directly responsible for this type of behavior, Gary. Papa, on the other hand, is not responsible for you being threatened. That would be you again. You are a despicable person doing despicable things, and you bring heat on yourself by spreading hatred. For whatever reason, you racist clowns believe that people are going to continue taking abuse from you people and that there won't be any blowback for your behavior. This man is an actor, and all he did was audition for a role and do a good enough job to get hired. He has harmed no one, but you spent the beginning of this video attributing harmful stereotypes to an innocent man and are now trying to empathize with the abuse he's been receiving? Are you fucking insane?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It's also been my experience to not bring attention to the threats because it invites more of them. So why do they do it? It's a marketing tool used regularly by corporate Hollywood to shield them from criticism for their provocative decisions.
Or they're telling the truth about you and your army of sad failures that have nothing better to do than to harass people over portraying fictional characters that they literally don't even have to watch. Imagine saying casting a human in a TV show is provocative. Who exactly is it provoking, Gary, and what are those people going to do about it?
Once that hits The Hollywood Reporter, then Deadline picks it up, and Variety picks it up. Then we go back to Variety. HBO boss Casey Bloys says Harry Potter set has serious security amid death threats against cast. I'd also like to point out that Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, and Variety are all owned by the same company, Penske Media.
And that never stopped you from quoting Variety or Deadline when they're repeating your narratives, like the dumb marketing budget shit you people pull when a movie you don't like is doing too well at the box office. So stop wasting my time with this picking and choosing shit when they disagree with you, moron.
And again, nobody should be threatening anyone over pretend, but we also have to keep in mind that this is part of the gig, but it's what he says later that actually bothers me. However, the "I may destroy you" star, well, you may destroy Harry Potter, added that the abuse fuels me and makes me more passionate about making this character my own. What he should be doing, although he doesn't look anything like Snape, is trying to make the character as close as possible to the book because that's what the paying customer and the fans want. Nobody is asking for Papa Essuito's version of Snape. But that's not the only red flag. The showrunners of Harry Potter, one of whom has past credits with Succession and His Dark Materials, the atheist response to C.S. Lewis's Narnia, sound like they want to make this show their own as well by adding things that weren't in the books, like going to Ron's house, the Burrow, early, or seeing Draco's home life or behind the scenes with the professors. The story is supposed to be from Harry's perspective, and now it's not going to be, which fundamentally changes it. The viewer won't be discovering the wizard world through Harry's eyes, removing that sense of wonder. And if you're adding stuff that wasn't in the books, that means you're going to be leaving out stuff that was in the books, which defeats the purpose of this entire show.
That makes no sense and is baseless speculation and fear-mongering. This is a TV show. They have the space to add things without having to remove other things. That's the whole point of a TV show, to explore things you can't in a film. They will have 8 hours to adapt Philosopher's Stone, which is more than enough time, especially because that's the shortest book. This is the problem with trying to criticize things before they've released. Your criticism has the potential to age extremely poorly. But I guess in Grifter Candyland, the only thing that matters is clicks and views, not accuracy or integrity.
But it's Warner Brothers' show to fuck up, and it's just the latest example of Hollywood's inability to get out of their own way. I really would have enjoyed watching and covering a faithful Harry Potter show, but that train has left platform 9 3/4, all because some pompous and vapid Hollywood executives and showrunners thought that they would change hearts and minds with the casting of Black Snape.
What the hell are you talking about, dude? In what way are they trying to change hearts and minds with a supporting character? I guess you forgot that this show is called Harry Potter. Snape is by no means an unimportant character, but he's a side antagonist for most of the series. You admitted earlier that you liked 99% of everything they showed, but the guy with the brown skin that will barely play a factor in this particular season is what's ruining it for you. Yeah, that's what makes you a racist, Gary.
We won't give the fans what they want, we'll give them what they need. And it's here we get to the most insidious part of this, which is the reason I'm talking about it, the motivation behind race swapping. While they'll be calling the fans racist over the backlash of casting Black Snape, their decision to cast a Black Snape was inherently racist, because you literally did it to make it less white.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we can bring this circus to a close. As you can see, no real arguments for their positions, because there isn't an argument to be made. Snape is physically described a couple of times in the books, but beyond those few descriptions, nothing about the characterization of Snape requires him to be of any particular ethnic group. This is a form of ethnic defaultism, where a white author creates a character without any intrinsic ethnic traits that matter for their characterization, so everyone simply assumes they are white. Snape is described as having pale, sallow skin. Asians and Hispanics can have pale, sallow skin, but you don't hear these people advocating for Snape to be Asian or Hispanic because they think he has to be Caucasian, when he was never described as specifically being Caucasian in the books. Ethnic defaultism. What remains important is that he is an antagonist to the story that evolves into an anti-hero at the story's climax. As long as he does the things Snape does in the books, the character will remain intact, and what he looks like does not matter for that narrative to remain intact.
What can I say? What can I do?